Hello YouTube, how's everyone doing? It's Professional here. So today I have a vehicle review for you guys. Haven't done a vehicle review in some time. And this DLC, the Colonel Enterprises DLC, came with one unique vehicle, which is the Conada helicopter. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. But the Conada helicopter, you can purchase this on Elitist Travel for $2,450,000 or a trade price of $1,837,500, and you get the trade price by completing Operation Paper Trail. If you complete Operation Paper Trail this week, it's double money, so you do get some money back, and you also get like $600,000 off the helicopter. So complete the ULP storyline before you buy this helicopter. You get a nice discount and you make some money from the missions. But anyways, let's move on to the helicopter. So when you first purchase this helicopter will be put in your hangar. You cannot purchase this helicopter unless you have a hangar. It'll be stored in your hangar. It's not a Pegasus vehicle. It is a personal aircraft. Now, this helicopter does not have any kind of countermeasures. That's the first thing that you're going to notice. And it also does not have any kind of weapons. It's strictly a civilian helicopter, but you can upgrade the engine on it, and you can upgrade the agility on it. Normally I don't talk about the paints much on a helicopter. However, this helicopter has a very interesting livery, and that livery is actually the Higgins livery. Now, for strictly just GTA 5 players, you might not recognize this, but if you're a GTA 4 player, this is actually going to mean a lot to you. Higgins is actually a reference to Higgins Helicopter Tours in GTA 4, and this is actually a place where you can actually go, you'd pay a fee, and you would be able to see the city based on, real-life helicopter tours in New York City. Now, the helicopters used in that were the Mavericks, but in this one, you do have a livery that's a reference to Higgins from GTA 4. Now, the first thing that I wanted to test with this helicopter, and this is literally the most disappointing thing about the helicopter, is that this helicopter cannot be spawned in with the CEO menu. You can spawn it, obviously, as a personal vehicle, but it doesn't spawn right next to you. When you spawn a helicopter with the CEO menu, it spawns right in front of you, spawns right on the street in front of you, a few feet away from you. Even the Sparrow from the Kasatka, that's not necessarily part of the CEO, but you can spawn it from the menu right next to you. This thing will spawn basically wherever planes and other personal helicopters spawn. And the reason that this kind of upsets me specifically is because this was a quality of life update, the Criminal Enterprises DLC. And so one of the things that got updated was CEOs. CEOs got updated. We had Lupe, we had a few new crate missions, we had the mixed good missions. So you'd think that if they added a new helicopter, kind of like a new executive helicopter, you'd think that we'd be able to spawn it directly through the CEO. And another really disappointing thing is that if you own this helicopter, there's no option to spawn it directly from the office. Imagine how awesome that would be if we could spawn this helicopter flying directly from the office after we talk to the assistant. Unfortunately, it's just not there. So one thing that I wanted to test with this helicopter is I wanted to test how fast this helicopter can ascend and descend. It's very important to know how fast a helicopter can rise, especially against other helicopters. Now, my friend Riley Black Fox right there is in a Sparrow. I want to thank her for helping me to record this. And you guys can see the Sparrow, even though it's one of the most agile helicopters in the game, you can see the Conada is just rising much faster than it. And if we also tested descending, this thing descends much faster than the Sparrow. But also, if we let the Sparrow actually take off, so Riley gets a little bit of a head start here, I can still catch up to her. I can ascend much faster than the Sparrow. If I test this against the Buzzard, it's the same thing. This thing ascends and descends much faster than the Buzzard. The Buzzard isn't really a challenge. That the Buzzard obviously would destroy this thing in combat because this thing has no weapons, but the point is this thing goes up and down much faster than the Buzzard. However, what if we test this against the Hunter? Now, the Hunter is one of the best, when you have it upgraded, is one of the best helicopters at ascending and descending. If we test it, it's a little bit closer. However, though, eventually, yes, the Conada wins. The Conada does pass the Hunter in ascending. However, when we look at descending, it's another thing. Descending, the Conada does beat the Hunter at that, but it's pretty close. Now, in terms of speed, if we race against the Hunter, you can see the Conada is a little bit faster. Even when I give my friend Riley a little bit of a head start, I still eventually do catch up to the Hunter. However, though, what I will say, even though this thing can ascend and descend a bit faster than all the other helicopters that I've tested this against, the Sparrow, the Buzzard, and the Hunter. The Hunter does gain altitude a little bit faster when it's moving forward. If it's not moving at all, and it's just going up and down, the Conada will beat it. But if it's moving just forward, and ascending at the same time and descending, the Hunter is a little bit better in that regard. But this thing, from what I've seen, is faster than the Hunter, the Sparrow, and the Buzzard. But I wanted to test one final thing with the speed. I wanted to test this helicopter in a speed race against the Volatus, and I want to thank my friend Gamer for helping me to record this. Now, the Volatus is arguably the fastest helicopter in the game, or at least one of the fastest helicopters. It doesn't have any speed upgrades, but it's a very fast helicopter. And so I let my friend Gamer get a little bit of a head start here, and I wanted to see if I can catch up to him. If the Conada can catch up to the Volatus here, then that basically proves that it's the fastest helicopter. However, though, I was able to catch up a tiny bit, but then afterwards, I wasn't able to pass him. And he wasn't able to get any more distance on me, and I wasn't able to catch up to him. It pretty much just evened out right here. And so we decided to do a second race, and also this clip is sped up, 2 times because I'm doing a few of these races, and I don't want to make you guys watch me just keep racing across the map multiple times for a few minutes. But anyways, in the second test, we decided to both start at the same time, and we're actually flying at the highest possible height. Now, what happens is when the Conada, it actually shifts forward, tilts forward a little bit faster than the Volatus. That's why I gained a little bit of a second here head start when we started off. But even though I gained that little bit of a second head start, as you can see, Gamer is not able to pass me, but I'm also not able to gain really any more distance on him. It's pretty much almost the exact same thing, and I wanted to test at the highest possible height because what happens is when you hold down on the left stick to go forward and you hold R2, usually that's, how you make most helicopters fly faster. You gain a little bit of altitude and you also hold down the left stick. The Conada just keeps gaining altitude as it's flying forward. The Volatus, on the other hand, will actually drop some altitude, so we wanted to test at the very top of the map here, and pretty much we got the same results. And I did a third race here, and I just wanted to see any difference. Here we also did this race. We did a little bit lower. We did kind of halfway before we get to the very top of the map. And here, pretty much very similar results also. Exact same thing almost. The Volatus did drop a little bit as it was, moving up and advancing, but it's still pretty much the same speed. So now the question is the Conada the fastest helicopter in the game now? And my answer would be, I don't know. They are very similar. The Conada does descend and does ascend from what I've seen faster than the Volatus, but in terms of top speed, to me, at least in my opinion, they seem like they're the exact same thing. I know that, the helicopter Conada tilted a little bit forward, and, I was a little bit ahead, but it's not that much of a difference. It's not significant. It's not something that you're gonna really notice, and if one player is in a Volatus and one player is in a Conada, they will never be able to catch up to each other. If they're both flying in a straight line, they will never be able to catch up to each other. I pretty much think that it's the same speed, so if this helicopter is faster than the Volatus, in my opinion, then it's the fastest helicopter in the game. Or it's either one of the fastest helicopters in the game. I think we can agree on that at least. If we can't agree it's the fastest helicopter in the game now, we can at least agree that it's one of the fastest helicopters in the game. It's definitely fast, and a lot of people say this helicopter sucks, but I think that's going a little bit too far, because, I can understand to some degree people see that it has no weapons, they see that it has no flares, and you can't spawn with the CEO. Those are bad things, but at the same time it's also one of the fastest helicopters in the game. It can get you around the map, no problem. But now here's the last 2 things that I wanted to test. And I wanted to test the agility on this thing. How is this helicopter against the Oppressor Mark II? How does it handle the Oppressor Mark II? Because the Oppressor Mark II, this is the vehicle that's probably going to kill the vast majority of Conadas. This is still the most common griefing vehicle out there, even after the nerf. So now with the Oppressor Mark II's missiles, the Oppressor Mark II missiles, at least from what I've seen, they're kind of more like Sparrow missiles. They don't curve around and hit the target perfectly accurately. So if you're at a distance with the Conada, you're maybe like 100 meters from the Oppressor Mark II, you can dodge it. A good pilot can dodge them. I dodged a few of the missiles, but what happens is if the Oppressor Mark II actually gets closer, because the Oppressor Mark II is just more agile. If it gets closer to the Conada, then the Conada can't really dodge it at that point. It can just hit the Conada at an angle, can hit it on its side, where it's the most vulnerable, and it just blows it up. And my friend Riley, she's one of the best pilots that I've seen, and I also killed her with the Oppressor Mark II. I even hated using the Oppressor Mark II. I don't even own one of this character. I was using one of my friend's Oppressor Mark IIs. But anyways, that's pretty much it. And the last thing here is we have an armor test. So now how does this thing handle with armor? It has almost no armor. If somebody's firing homing missiles at you, a good pilot would be able to dodge them. It'd have trouble against the Mark II, but a good pilot could dodge homing missiles. However, though, the homing missile, if it did hit the Conada, it's going to blow up in one hit, so it has barely any armor. But now, let's move on to the pros and the cons of this and wrap this review up. And here we got the pros and the cons at the end. So the biggest pro of this helicopter is I think that it's very fast. The only question is whether it's the fastest helicopter in the game. You saw the speed test against the Volatus there. Guys, let me know what you think. If it's not the fastest helicopter in the game, then at least it's the second or third fastest. I think we can agree that at least it's one of the fastest helicopters in the game. It might just be the fastest one now, but I personally think that it's the exact same speed as the Volatus, but that's just me. The next pro is it's great at ascending and descending, so it's amazing at that. It's really good at gaining altitude, really good at descending. Every single other helicopter that I've put it up against in ascending and descending, it has beat, and it has a trade price. The reason I put that as a pro is because there's been so many vehicles that Rockstar have released that don't have trade prices, but you complete the UL paper missions, and you do get this as a trade price, which is nice. And it carries 4 people. Not every helicopter carries 4 people. I mean, just look at the Sparrow, which is 2. So I do definitely think that that's a pro as well. Cons are, you can't spawn this as a CEO. That's really disappointing because, I think that Rockstar should have really considered doing that, because if this is, a quality of life update and they add more stuff to the CEO, this helicopter, you should be able to spawn it as a CEO, just like the Buzzard. That's exactly what I mean when I say spawn as CEO. I mean spawn from the interaction menu, just like the Buzzard or the Sparrow. And you can't use it from the CEO office. That also disappointment. You buy this helicopter, it should be a helicopter that you can just use from your CEO tower. And also another con is almost no armor. Like I said, it gets blown up by one missile and it's just done. And the last con is it has no countermeasures. No flares, no chaff in this thing. It could have at least had flares and chaff. And I know some people would say no guns as like another con, but the thing is, I was thinking about that and I was thinking, nah, because if it did have guns, I'd put that as a pro, but not every single helicopter needs to have guns to be a good helicopter. This is a civilian helicopter, which is what it was built for. Maybe they'll release a military variant of this thing in the future, but I don't personally think that every single helicopter needs to have guns on it. But that's just me. But is this helicopter worth buying? If you're not into helicopters, no. If you do collect all the other helicopters, like you have the Swift, the Buzzard, Sparrow, Volatus, if you have a lot of these other helicopters, civilian and military, I think that this is a great helicopter to add to your collection. If you like GTA 4, I think it's definitely, worth getting for the, the Higgins skin. The price it's kind of similar in price to the Swift and the Volatus and other helicopters in that category. So I don't really think it's expensive, but I don't think it's cheap either. So I don't think that the price is really a pro or a con. It's just somewhere in the middle. But that's just it for the helicopter. So let me know what you guys think down below. Do you like this helicopter? Are you disappointed by it? It's like I said, when people are saying this helicopter sucks, I don't think it's an amazing helicopter, but I think that it goes too far when people say that this helicopter is terrible. But let me know what you guys think, and if you guys enjoyed the review, do drop a like, and if you're new to my channel, enjoy my content, subscribe to me, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care, everyone, and have a wonderful day.